Today we're gonna be ranking MapleStory bosses from the easiest to the hardest. Let's get started. At number 1 in our list, we have Damien. Damien earns a spot as number 1 on our list for being the easiest boss. Basically, you just have to avoid hits that mark you and one-shot you, and you're basically good to go. And avoiding those hits is basically super easy as long as you somewhat understand the boss and what one-shot you. You basically will have no trouble avoiding it. Don't let your marks go above 4, and absolutely not above 5, maybe 6 if you're really crazy enough, because you will die if the marks get to 7 out of 7. The most annoying thing about Damien is his ability to avoid your damage and prevent you from dealing damage to him, either by teleporting all over the place, going up and shooting fireballs, or just completely vanish for a while. In phase 2, he also summons these blue orbs that limit your damage to him. I think it's a 10% final damage if you're inside the blue orbs, so it's super annoying for people who do not have enough damage and the mobility to get out of the blue orbs. But other than that, the mechanics of Damien is literally super easy. And also, keep in mind that the lower HP that he is at, the more blue orbs he'll summon. I think it goes all the way up to 3. Don't quote me on that because I don't think I've seen 4. The good thing about P2 is that it's a lot easier to cleanse compared to phase 1, because the swords that attack you in phase 1 non-stop is usually not in phase 2 as much. Number 2 on our list, we have Lucid. Lucid, the hardest part about Lucid is phase 1, really. If you get through phase 1 with 3 lives, you'll probably still clear phase 2 with no issues, unless you get RNG very hard in phase 2 and combo really hard in phase 2, it should be fine. The boss is a bit tricky, but overall it's a fun boss for me and I really enjoy doing it. Personal opinion, not really objective, but the golems in phase 1 limit your mobility a lot, so that's usually what makes P1 so difficult. If there are golems blocking your way, you can't get to the far end side to avoid dragon. Another thing with golems is that you can't teleport through them or jump over them, because you'll take a good chunk of damage and you get potion locked for a bit if you try to do it. With the new bomb change, which you need to go to a safe spot to tank bombs, the golems can also make that a challenge. Luckily though, you can teleport or jump over mushrooms that spawn, assuming you clear golems enough. This is a nice thing to have. Having an iframe helps a lot with bombs, even with this new change. So classes with iframes will definitely perform better, especially in phase 1 Lucid, to basically iframe the bomb and not really be forced to go through golems to get to a safe spot. Phase 2 makes Lucid one of the most fun phases for me because I just absolutely love this phase. I love how you get to move around all over the map to attack the boss. It's literally the only boss that does that in the game, and it's so special. Phase 2 is good for nimble classes with good mobility, but sucks for classes that can't move well. For Kaisers, we have a final form, so we literally can teleport all over the freaking place as we're attacking. There's a bit of RNG to the boss though, for sure, just like any other boss, because you can get combos such as Dragon plus lasers in phase 2, or you get Dragon and teleport in phase 1, always a bonus, always fun. Or Dragon and Golem in phase 1, which is not really a super big combo, but she does tend to drop golems right in front of you as you're trying to go to the other side. Other than that, the boss is rather simple and fun to play with, and it's pretty straightforward. Number 3 on our list, we have Verus Hilla. Now, Verus Hilla has a very steep learning curve. As long as you learn it, it's basically going to be smooth sailing. It's not really that bad, in my opinion. The hardest part about this fight is the potion lock. If you're in GMS, which I am, and you got healing familiars, the hardest part of the fight is now effectively null. So, as long as you have 2 healing familiars and you don't do stupid gimmicks, you will basically not die to HP death ever. And also, it will be nice to get a door if you guys are rather new, because every death count matters, and you definitely do not want to die to an HP death in Verus Hilla. The next part of the fight comes from the strings, and this is the second hardest part of the fight, I would think. And I personally didn't memorize all of the safe spots. I just play it by ear and by eye. It definitely takes a few practices to get down the feel of the strings, because it does get tricky and you kind of have to know the timing of the strings and when it grabs you. But once you get it down, the whole fight kind of becomes a joke. Oh yeah, it helps if you have a bot too, but I don't have a bot anymore. An important thing I wish I knew when I was doing verus hilla is don't take risks, especially when you're first starting. If it's getting closer and closer to FMA, I would try to avoid her than to get a tiny bit more of DPS in. If you get marked at the last second and there isn't enough time to cleanse, I would just suck it up and take that -1 instead of trying to force that one last cleanse in. That was one of my biggest mistakes when I was first starting and trying to solo her and doing her in the party even. You can lose a lot of lives very quickly if you don't cleanse fast enough. And most of the time, I would say it's a 50%, and that 50% is being generous, 50% chance of you to actually cleanse before the FMA happens and takes away all of your skills. So, other than those minor things, this fight is basically a joke with healing familiars, and it's a fun fight, honestly. Number 4, we have the Black Mage. Okay, you might think I'm crazy, but hear me out. Black Mage is actually a really fun boss, and really well designed. Most of the time, it isn't insane. It does get crazy sometimes, just like with any other boss, but mechanically, it's not crazy. Sometimes things fly everywhere and it gets crazy, but most of the time it's pretty chill, trust me. Assuming you have the damage for it, and that's a big assumption of course, Black Mage is actually a decently simple boss to learn and kill. It took my party, I think 20 tries to kill it, or 24 tries, whatever it was. So if you can do this boss in half the time allotted to you, you're basically fine. There isn't a ton of RNG, and most of the boss mechanics are really cool and interesting to learn to avoid. The worst part about Black Mage is the potion lock from the Black Curse, but other than that, the boss is super fun. You really put the hero's will of Urda to use, which I know most of you never do, because I never did it back then until Black Mage, and then I realized the power of will and using the will skill. And no, this is not talking about the true arachnid reflection. Number 5, we have Lotus. I hated this freaking boss so freaking much. It was so annoying. Phase 1 is a big challenge if you can't kill it within 1 minute. The laser spins faster and faster as time progresses. You have to deal with stun from the falling object, the status effects from those 4 summons that he does. Overall annoyance if you can't kill it fast. Phase 2 and 3 were equally annoying in different ways. Extremely heavy on the RNG side. The main thing was to not let his knockbacks control you. Then you just pray to God that he doesn't combo your ass. Sometimes he does this really fun thing by summoning only 1 or 2 platforms and drop a train on each of them. Fun. Or 2 of them. 2 trains. Other times he would drop only 1 platform and then walk towards you and push you off during laser. Perks of not having enough jump. As long as RNG is somewhat on your side and you avoid his pushes as fast as you could, Lotus is perfectly doable. Number 6, we have Gloom. Does someone say they want Lotus on crack? Well, I got just the boss for you. Gloom is basically a fight against stun orbs and getting comboed. Stun orbs are not the worst thing in the world, but they are detrimental in this boss. If you get stunned, there's a 50% chance that you might not make it out of it alive. Rest in peace. You can either get stunned and then dragged into a big laser, stunned and then have another 50 meteors drop on top of you, stunned and then get your torso pierced by Gloom's big ass tentacles, or stunned and then raped by all those mobs in fear mode. It's a lot of fun, if you like dying of course. I had so much struggle dealing with this Gloom RNG meteor shower. Sometimes I would do so well because the meteor gods are kind, other times I would get showered with a megaton of meteors. Depends on how Gloom feels for the day. If he woke up on the nicer side of the bed, then he'll be nice. Maybe. Number 7, we have Darknell. TLDR, Darknell is basically a RNG fest of heavy damage and FMAs. You're constantly getting attacked by something, whether it's elites, him, meteors, something. If you're vertically challenged and can't fly around the air and have super good mobility like wind archers and zeros, where you basically are just levitating in the air, Darknell is going to be an annoying boss for you. The elite spawn out of literally nowhere with 0 freaking animation delay. They literally just pop out of nowhere, slap you twice, and then you're dead. They deal heavy damage. Each of them deal around 50% damage to you, so 2 hits from them will send you straight to heaven. And he summons 2 of them, so good luck. 50% each, you're dead. On top of that, you have to avoid Mr. Darknell himself, and he does his tricks of FMAs, his little slashing thingies where he flashes forward and does 80% of your health. He is also a circus in his own right. So best of luck in this RNG fest of heavy damage and FMAs. Last one, we have Mr. Will. There's a caveat though. The more people you bring, the easier this boss is, mechanically speaking. Not just talking about damage. Damage is basically for all bosses. It applies to all bosses. The more damage you have, the easier the boss becomes. But for Will, it mechanically becomes easier, assuming the people you bring aren't total idiots. It's a cool boss, and I absolutely hate the living shit out of it. I mean, seriously, do we really need that many checks? Phase 1 has 3 checks. Phase 2 has 2. Do we really need that many? Isn't 1 or 2 enough? Why does Phase 1 have so many checks? Anyways, Phase 1 is kind of a joke, but you can also get comboed really badly by a tornado and you swapping sides and everything. So, yeah, try not to die in Phase 1, especially if you're soloing, because it's gonna come back and haunt you. Phase 2 is super annoying because of the potion lock, but it's not terrible, especially when you have healing familiars like GMS does. It's basically Spidey versus Hilla. It's difficult to learn, but once you pick it up, it's a light breeze. Phase 3 is the challenging one, especially if you're soloing or dueling. If you don't have enough damage to kill it within 4 to 5 minutes, you won't make it out of Phase 3 alive. And also that 4 to 5 minutes becomes 2 or 3 minutes if you don't clean webs. Just saying. The less people you have, the more you need to dodge. If you don't dodge well, you don't gather enough moonlight. If you don't gather enough moonlight, you can't cleanse. If you can't cleanse the webs, you can't attack, and you will just be perm skill lock. I remember when I was first trying to solo this boss, it made me mult so badly. If you don't dodge literally everything, the whole FMA, it's basically an FMA really. The legs, the orbs, him, the little star direction projectiles that he shoots, literally dodge everything. You won't make it past the 5-minute mark. The webs spawn too fast for one person cleansing. Oh, if you have a fat hitbox like Kaiser's too, good luck dodging, you fat ballerina. I skipped Seren because I haven't done it yet and I'm not super familiar with the slime boss just yet. The slime boss is more on the level of, I would say, verus hilla, in that you just need to try to deal high DPS as much as possible while avoiding some of her or its deadly attacks, such as lasers. At the same time, the slime boss requires party coordination, just like verus hilla and her candles. You kind of have to coordinate where you guys place the stones and golems and yada yada yada. So what do you guys think about this list? Do you agree or disagree? Tell me your experience in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you want more videos from me. Bye now.